Hey there everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault. We're going to talk about Obsidian, Avowed, and art director Matt Hansen once again, and what a schmuck he is. So let's cue up the music and we'll get right to it. Alright, so we got a whistleblower that worked at the Microsoft-owned Obsidian Entertainment game studio has shown a light on the toxic behavior from Avowed art director Matt Hansen. When Hansen took a major victory lap to celebrate the fact that ex-owner and world's richest man, Elon Musk, had called out his fantasy RPG Avowed for its use of optional pronouns in a fantasy setting, he couldn't have known that his whole scenario would snowball the way it has. Hansen now finds himself at the center of a major controversy spearheaded by Musk that has exposed alleged racist and illegal hiring practices at the company. So while this guy was filleting himself over upsetting Elon Musk, which I'm sure Elon just was kind of like making a comment about all this, and this guy was, anyway, look up filleting. No, don't look up filleting. Yeah, so this guy's opened up a can of worms potentially here. Will anything come of it? Who knows? I doubt it. But the regime is changing there in Washington, and stuff like this really needs to be taken seriously. It's funny how acceptable it is to discriminate against white men, right? And it's almost encouraged, it seems, these days, especially in the gaming realm and in Hollywood. Everybody's like, oh, there's too many white men. There's too many white men. Push back against it. Discriminate against them. Let's make a program for women to mentor them, or women and non-binary people. Let's get more black developers in, or developers with different colors and stuff like that. And, keep the white man out. When white men made gaming great, we built gaming. I mean, that's who was at the forefront of gaming for all those years. That and Asian, the Japanese developers really helped build gaming for all those years. Now you want to push it out, and look what we've done. We've pushed out the white guys, and we've filled up all these roles with this new generation of people, and we stopped hiring based off merit, and now we get games like Dragon Age The Veilguard and Concord, and these games are garbage. We get games like Dustborn, and now Avowed, and this is led by a white guy, but he's not even a white guy anymore. We reject him. He's not one of us anymore. He's a woman. We're gonna change his gender. He's over there. He's a liberal white woman now. You guys can have him. He's no longer he's not a crusty white male like the rest of us. He's just a woman. But yeah, it's not going to end well for him. The whistleblower who previously worked for the developer came forward to YouTube personality Smash JT with stories of his experiences working for the company and for Hansen. The shift in workplace dynamics began after Microsoft acquired Obsidian in November 2018 and made them a part of Xbox Studios, Smash JT said in his official write-up on the 2.5-hour conversation he had with the whistleblower, codenamed Doe for the sake of keeping him anonymous there. They implemented some very strange corporate policies. The first tip-off to Doe that things weren't normal anymore was with the introduction of optional but in reality mandatory pronouns in email signatures, meetings, and other communications. I wouldn't do it, man. Sorry. I wouldn't do it. It wasn't long before an event he described as a misgendering incident swept through the company. This led to Matt Hansen sending out a company-wide email detailing a zero-tolerance policy on intentional or malicious misgendering. When are we going to look back at this whole pronoun nonsense and laugh? Because this is one of the stupidest, most inane things we've ever gone through as a society. Personal pronouns, preferred pronouns. It's literally retarded that people go through this, that people lose jobs over this, that it is being considered illegal in some areas. I think California has made misgendering somebody illegal. That's retarded. Okay? I mean, it literally is. I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. If you're like I'm a dude. I'm obviously a dude. If you look at me, I'm a dude. There's no way you're going to mistake me for a woman. You could shave my beard. You could put a wig on me. You could dress me up, put a couple balloons on my shirt, and do all you can. There's no way I would ever pass for a woman. And if I did, I'd be the ugliest broad you ever saw in your life. There'd be no way. I'm not built like a woman. I don't carry myself like a woman. I could not pass for a woman. And if I considered myself a woman, no one would use she, her pronouns for me at first glance. Okay? So I would be misgendered constantly. Everybody who met me would be in jail if I lived in California because they would call me sir, him, he, whatever. Anyway, the email's tone was described to me as a passive-aggressive yet threatening, Smash JT said. A fair warning that employees who couldn't align with these policies would face termination. JT went on to say that Doe described the use of pronouns within the company as a way of controlling others. They were used as a means of shifting the balance of power within Obsidian and Microsoft. It's despicable, man. Doe also observed that Matt Hansen was extremely difficult to work with, citing an unwillingness to accept constructive criticism and a consistent tendency to make assumptions about lower-level employees' commitment, JT said. He also said around this time the number of straight white male employees diminished until they could be counted on one hand. So here we go, talking about unable to accept constructive criticism. We've talked about it before. Asmongold talked about with Concord the toxic positivity. That sounds like that's the buildup here. People on the left, especially in the LGBT community, and I assume Matt Hansen is one of them because he comes across like that. If he's not, he should be an honorary member because he seems like a queer. They are unable to accept criticism of any sort for the most part. You know, I'm painting with broad strokes here, but that community as a whole, especially the activist portion of it, they're unable to accept criticism. You know, you see them screaming online, you see them freaking out over everything. And, you know, individuals, it's a different story. I work with people that are, you know, gay and so forth, and they're normal. They're just like everybody else. You know, you can criticize them at work about something that they've done, and they're fine about it. You know, they're not like, oh, you're just coming at me. No, they're fine. Like, oh, okay, no problem. You know, fix that. So it's this weird, terminally online group of people that are like that. But anyway, that certainly falls in line with the potentially discriminating hiring practices Obsidian is being accused of by Musk and others. Hansen made it clear that he hires based on race and that people who aren't crusty white dudes are his priority. Doe also detailed a story in which 2 full years after the COVID pandemic, Microsoft attempted to make Obsidian employees return to work in the office to increase productivity and quality. The reaction from employees was nothing short of completely unhinged. Employees of all levels melted down in front of all the higher-ups on a Microsoft Teams call, Smash JT said. Apparently, the ringleader of the pushback on the ending remote work was Hansen himself. This is another thing, man. Like, a lot of people are freaking out about going back to the office. Working remotely was something that they all got used to due to the pandemic. The pandemic really, really screwed up humanity as a whole. It screwed up the workforce. It screwed up a lot of people. I went to a restaurant a couple weeks ago up in Sanford, Florida, which is just outside of Orlando. And the hostess there, young girl, I would say college age, right? Short hair, and obviously from the way she looked and carried herself, part of that community, wearing a mask for no reason that I could see. Now, maybe she's got a health issue and all that, and I can respect that. You know, if she's got some kind of weird, you know, immunity disorder or whatever, okay, you know, that's a possibility, but we never saw that before the pandemic, and she probably doesn't have that. She's probably one of those people that COVID broke, and they're still out there. You still see them out there, you know. I don't pick on people like that now when I see them because, you know, like they used to scream at us when we didn't wear masks in public. I wouldn't wear a mask in public during COVID, you know. People would, and people wouldn't yell at me. The area I lived, for one thing, was not a liberal area, you know. I'd go to walk into a store and the guy at the door would be like, well, you need to wear a mask. You know, I'm like, no, I don't. You know, he says, well, you can give me a reason not to. You know, you can have a religious or a medical exemption. I said, well, pick one. You know, just pick one. Well, you need to tell me. I said, just pick one, dude. I'm going in the store. You know, and I felt bad for the kid working the door, but I'm like, I'm not going to have this conversation with you, bro. So, you know, I just walk in. You know, what are you going to do? Nobody looked at me twice. Nobody, you know. That was just me. If somebody wanted to pick a fight over it, I was ready to fight over it. I honestly didn't care. I wasn't about to be a part of this hoax. And that's what I saw it as. And in the end, it turned out to be quite the hoax. Fight the biggest, worst virus in the history of humanity by putting a dollar store bandana over your face. That's not an acceptable way to fight it. Or a small paper mask that's designed for surgery to keep your spit from going into an open wound or something like that. It's not designed to prevent a virus from passing to and from, Sorry, man, that's not the way it works. But, those were all acceptable. No. Anyway. Doe stated that the extreme COVID caution, along with the massive ideology shift within the organization, turned Obsidian into some kind of new age religion. He noted that the remaining employees were driven by blind obedience to an ideological dogma. This corporate chokehold has now stifled creativity and stripped games of value for players, JT said. Leaders at Obsidian, like Matt Hansen, continue to be empowered to go on unhinged, blue sky racist rants attacking gamers and being protected by echo chambers of positive feedback. Despite this, Doe said that it wasn't all bad, and he still has hope for Obsidian's future. I learned a lot from several people there, and have a lot of respect for them and their craft, Doe said. I think the distinction is really important to make because many of these people are good at heart and well-intentioned and just want to make cool stuff. Many of those who've fallen unknowingly to this indoctrination can't really see it for what it is, and the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Now, with Musk's involvement, it seems as though a reckoning might be coming for Obsidian. It's as of now unclear whether these controversies will have any major impact on Avow's sales. However, with Musk's connections at the highest levels of government, it's certainly possible that any illegal hiring practices at Obsidian will be looked into once the Trump administration takes control on January 20th, 2025. Chris Avallone, the co-founder of Obsidian, even urged developers who were rejected by the studio to seek legal representation and bring an employment discrimination lawsuit against the company he helped start. Ooh, that's bad. So here he is talking about that. Based on recent news, if you're rejected from an art position at Obsidian in the recent years, call it lawyer discrimination in hiring, especially for Microsoft Studio, can ensure you don't need to apply for a job ever again. That's terrible, man. Absolutely terrible. I've talked about this before. The left-wing ideology has swung so far left that it seems like it's become a religion, right? And the thing is, it's a religion without a moral center. It's a religion without a dogma. There's no moral center to it. And it constantly shifts. And it tries to encompass all these different things to it, but there's no, I don't know how to explain it. Everything else has a center to it, right? Whether it be Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, everything has a center that, and some tenets to it, where this is just based off of, whatever the latest thing is. A guy gets killed by the police, that's the moral center that week. A disease comes around, that's the moral center. Russia invades Ukraine, that's the moral center that week. And it just shifts and shifts and shifts. And if somebody doesn't agree with a part of it, they've agreed with everything up until that point, and then they're like, well, wait a minute, I don't really, this one's a little out of hand here. Now all of a sudden you're banished from the cult. And it's so weird. Anyway, let's move on. My goal with helping bring all this to light is I want to help spread awareness of what is actually the problem in our industry and where it's coming from and why, Doe says to Smash JT. I do not want to see my friends and peers fail. I do not want to see Obsidian and Microsoft fail. I would love to see healthy competition again in our industry where developers are unshackled by bad management and leadership, shareholders, and investors' personal interests. Making a good game comes first. If you can convey a message through a seamless and fun experience, then even better. Let the creative endeavor happen naturally. It can't be forced. I'm a firm believer in the free market of ideas and meritocracy, and whatever is the best idea for a game and what the player base wants, that's what should be implemented. So he continued to say, while success is nice, it's not something that any developer or studio is entitled to. While I want to see success for everyone, I think it's important that it's earned, Doe said. Honesty and accountability is paramount. For those that don't earn it, I hope you learn from your earned failures. Success is built on learning from our past failures. Success can be a blessing, but remember to also stay humble and check your egos at the door when you clock in. We're here because our players support us to do so. We're here to make a fun experience and provide escapism for them. maybe even inspire some of our fellow gamers to take up the mantle like we have from those who inspired us to join the creative endeavors of game development. We're here for the journey and the process, not the destination. Developers win when the players win. Anyway, what do you think? You think Avowed's going to be a success? I'll tell you what, man. I don't. I think it's going to be a failure. I'm going to tell you that straight up now. I've been pretty good on my calls so far. And this one, especially if Matt Hansen doesn't shut his fat mouth. Look, he looks like a young Rob Reiner there, doesn't he? If this guy doesn't shut his fat face up, it's going to be a failure, especially if they keep mouthing off like this. Players don't like this crap. They don't want pronouns in the game. They don't want that kind of stuff. Now, there's always going to be that base. It's like, well, what's the big deal? You guys are just crying about this, cry more, yada, yada, yada. And when the developer starts saying stuff like that, we just close our wallets and put them away and go, all right, well, that one's off my list. I'm not buying it. It could be the coolest looking game in the world, and I'm not buying it. Sorry. That's something that a lot of us feel that way, especially when you get a little bit older. You're like, well, why would I give money to somebody who, first off, would not hire me even if I was qualified for the job because of the color of my skin or my sex, right? You wouldn't hire me if I walked into your studio if I was qualified for the job, but you would hire somebody else that was less qualified because they're black or they're a woman. So why would I give you money? Why would I support your business when you would not give me a job so I could feed my family? That's wrong. Why would I support you when you would make fun of me for telling you that, I don't like that part of your game. I don't think that's a good thing to have in there. And you're going to tell me to cry more or, something like that. You're going to mock me for my honest opinion on something, okay, then I won't buy your game. I mean, these are honest opinions and honest gripes that I have with a company. Then you're not getting my money, bro. And there's a lot of companies out there that aren't going to get my money. And unlike this Whistleblower, I want Obsidian to fail at this point, and all those good developers that work for Obsidian, I'm sorry you're going to lose your job, but you should have fought harder. You should have fought harder. You should have took a tyrant like Matt Hansen and brought him down, brought him to heel, and got him kicked out of that company or whatever it took to destroy him and got him out of there, because he's destroying your company. So once this happens and this game comes out and it fails and it loses hundreds of millions of dollars and all that kind of stuff, make sure everybody points the finger directly at him when you're all going out the door because you're fired and the studio's getting closed. And hopefully no one ever hires this asshole again within the industry. And hopefully the good people that worked for Obsidian, the good developers there, hopefully they're able to get back up on their feet as soon as possible and get some decent jobs with some studios that don't put out garbage like Avowed. Anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. As always, I'm Cat the Beefy with the Game Vault. Subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, peace.